Good morning, GP. Yes, this is the right channel and the right show that you have chosen. Today on Good Morning, GP, on one of our segments, on the desk, we have Darren Franks, who's the CEO of TalentintheCloud, and he's here to tell us all about what his company does. TalentintheCloud, just to give you a short summary, is a recruitment agency that offers specialist leadership search services across emerging markets. They help business leaders hire senior and middle management leaders across the fintech and payments sector. A client of TITC receives high-touch, highly personalized, and extremely agile services, from humble beginnings supporting a handful of fintechs in Africa to now working with some of the fastest growing fintechs on the planet. Good morning, Darren, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Thank you for having me.
Right. Now, please, before we get into it, explain what fintech is.
Okay, so fintech is short for financial technology.
Okay.
So financial technology has been around for a long, long time. Ever since banks have had access to computers, that's been fintech. But how we know fintech today is very, very different. So fintech covers a broad spectrum of financial services. So it's basically digitizing financial services. And it covers everything from wealth management to payments to how you send money overseas to how you bank, how you save and how you spend. So it's very broad and all-encompassing.
Nice. And we know that TITC, Talent in the Cloud, is a very big company, and it's unique, to be quite honest. Can you tell us what the vision was, from the beginning? What made you actually start this company?
Yeah, well, I've been in the world of recruitment for 22, 23 years. And I ended up in South Africa about 8 years ago and exited my last business and wanted to do something a little bit different. And if truth be told, I fell into the fintech market. It was someone that I knew in Nairobi in Kenya. He called me out of the blue and said he's just joined this payments company. They've received a large amount of funding and they need help scaling across the continent. And could I help? And that was the beginning of Talent in the Cloud. So that was our first client and still remains a client today. And I can talk to you about that in a bit more detail later on.
Wow, great. Yeah. And what would you say, differentiates Talent in the Cloud to other recruitment agencies or companies?
Our people. So that's the first thing. So all of our team members are very experienced. We focus purely in fintech, so we only do that. So if you came to us and you were a construction company or a manufacturing company, we wouldn't be able to help you because we deal solely in fintech. And we've got an entire team speaking to people in the sector all day, every day. It gives us the ability to understand the sector, but also to be known. So when we're reaching out to people about opportunities, they're more inclined to reply to us because we're a known brand, and they know we work with some of the best fintechs here in Africa, but also globally.
Is there a specific market that you work on, like on the fintech?
No, it's quite broad. So anything that's really financial services related that has a technology slant to it. So what you see these days is there's a lot of tech companies that are now becoming financial services companies. You look at Google, you look at Amazon, you look at these big household Facebook are all becoming or moving into financial services. So there's traditional sort of players. So you look at the banks, certainly here in South Africa, you look at F&B and Capitec and Absa. They're traditional banks, but have also got fintech arms to them. And they also partner with lots of early stage fintechs to take their products to market. A lot of fintechs require what's called sponsorship from a bank. So the bank still remains a critical part in the fintech ecosystem, but it's changing the way it is and the way banks operate over the years.
Wow. And how would you say, I'm trying to think of how you came across, to this fintech. Is there any way, that maybe a viewer at home, who's really interested in this and doesn't know even where to start, maybe a tech head, that doesn't know where to start, which way would you suggest for them to go on about?
Well, I think if you're in technology and you're maybe in software development or product management or solutions type roles or project management, I read something, I think it was just the other day, there's 850,000 jobs at the moment in fintech globally. What we're also seeing is that there are a lot of companies that are overseas that are now happy to take on remote workers. So there's lots of opportunities. We're seeing kind of this remote brain drain certainly happening on the continent, and specifically here in South Africa, where you've got international companies that are coming into the market, offering people some very, very high salaries, but not asking them to relocate. So people can be based in Gauteng or based in Cape Town or based in Durban, wherever it may be, and just work for an international company. So there's lots and lots of opportunities. I think if you're interested in the fintech sector, I would definitely run some Google searches and have a look there. LinkedIn is a really good source for information, so feel free to connect to me and to my team on LinkedIn and give us a follow. We share lots of articles about how to get into fintech, what the opportunities are, and where the market's going.
Wow, great. So you guys have heard it for yourself. Darren has given you the places where to go on social media. But to just continue, what role does fintech play in the South African economy?
Well, it's huge. So a big part of fintech in emerging markets, and that's across the African continent and Latin America as well, and India and what have you, is about financial inclusion. Okay, so it's about getting the unbanked or the underbanked population into the financial services ecosystem. So being able to offer very easy access to financial services, whether it be loans, whether it be bank accounts, whether it be savings accounts, whether it be being able to pay for taxis or be able to pay in local spaza shops, using that digitally. So I think that's one end of the market. The other end of the market is probably more about convenience. If you look at people like Discovery Bank, how easy is it now to open up an account? You just download the app and you open an account pretty much straight away. You have lots of rewards and benefits, which is another part of fintech as well. You see lots of reward schemes that are open in shops and in various different sort of outlets and hotels and restaurants. And that's all part of the fintech ecosystem. So to go back to your original question, it's all encompassing. It's very, very broad, the sector.
No, definitely. And now going back to what we spoke about earlier on, in terms of the companies that TITC has partnered with, is there anyone that you would like to, really go into detail about that?
I would, because we've actually just recently done a case study for this company, which is, again, a bit of a plug, but is available on our website, is a company called DPO Group. Okay, which you probably haven't heard of, or many of your viewers probably wouldn't have heard of. Yes. But they acquired a company about 2 years ago called PayFast, who you probably may have heard of. So PayFast, which is part of the DPO Group, enables you to do online payments. They're advertising quite heavily at the moment in airports and what have you. DPO Group is that first client that we won 6 years ago, they were about 40 people strong when we joined them. They're now over 500 people. They're across 17 countries, and we did a huge amount of work with them, and that's a company that I hold very dear to my heart, because without them we probably wouldn't be in existence.
No,
so they're a great group. They were acquired about a year ago by a big Middle Eastern company called Network International, and that was a landmark deal for the African fintech ecosystem.
And do you think that attracting top fintech talent, are different from attracting rather any other talent in different industries?
Difficult for me to say, because I've been so involved in the sector for 6 or 7 years. Getting a view on what's happening in manufacturing or what's happening in construction or engineering, I really don't know. But I think globally there's a skills shortage, even with high unemployment, of which there is here in South Africa and again across the continent. For specialist skills which are required in fintech and financial services, there is definitely a skills deficit, definitely. So, it's very much a job seekers market. I think if you have some experience, you have the right sort of skills, then actually you have an opportunity to cast your net quite wide, and you're in the driving seat as a potential employee. Sorry.
Definitely. Do you have any comments on the market in general?
Well, the market has absolutely exploded. What we've seen over the last couple of years is a huge amount of investment coming from the US and from Europe and from China as well, coming into Africa. And what that's done is it's created these so-called unicorns, of which there are a few in the continent, and these mythical creatures which are unicorns. You know, they do tend to sort of suck up a lot of talent that's available on the market. They have big budgets because they're heavily funded, and I think what that does to the local ecosystem is it prices local companies out of getting top talent. So it's quite a tricky situation. I think if you're a startup now, certainly here in South Africa, definitely in Cape Town, you know, you're going to struggle to find top talent because you're competing not only with your local competitors but with your international competitors as well.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
I hear you. Any, just to close off, any social media pages that people can get you on, you know,
Yeah.
follow these fintechs and your websites too?
Well, the beauty with FinTech is it's all online, right? So you can find us on LinkedIn, that's our biggest channel. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us even on TikTok, believe it or not.
Wow.
So, we've got a TikTok channel. So you can find us anywhere. It's Talent in the Cloud, which is all one word. We've got a website as well, which is talentinthecloud.io. And if anyone would like to reach out, then feel free to do so.
No, definitely. Thank you so much, Darren.
My
That's how
pleasure.
we'll wrap it up. They'll definitely get in touch with you guys. That was Darren Franks, the CEO of Talent in the Cloud. If you're a tech head, I mean, that's the place for you to go. But right now, we're just going to continue with the show as this is a Good Morning GP. Do stay tuned.